head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't match the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be
Reveals the hidden lie. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
all the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Hello, everybody. How are you this evening? Welcome in. Just trying to go over some last minute things. We're a little bit early tonight, earlier than usual. Just a little. We are going to read the depositions. So, how many of y'all have been waiting for more depositions for the Ben Fields case? So, it's the Ben Fields criminal case where Mickey Stines was deposed 3 days before Mickey shot Kevin Mullins here in Letcher County, Kentucky. Deposition. So we had went through Mickey's deposition. We went through Ben's deposition. And was there any others that we... I can't remember. I'm trying to think. Does anybody else know if we read anybody else's deposition? There was a whole lot of them that just hadn't come out yet, or at least we didn't have access to them. There were several of us that wondered who all took depositions. Well, we got LaShawna Frazier, who was working in the sheriff's department, and remember, LaShawna Frazier is the one who kind of had job security. She's the only one in the sheriff's department in any administration, it appears, that can do office work. I guess as a new administration comes in, usually they do not keep anybody from the previous administration. Whenever Mickey ran for sheriff, that was a really big election. You had a lot of people that were trying to win that the sheriff's position after Danny Webb did not run anymore. And so you had Mickey Stines, who came out of the bailiff position, Kevin Mullins' bailiff. So he worked in the courtroom for about 10 years. Ben, the entire time that Mickey was working under Kevin in the district courtroom, you had Ben Fields in the jail, in the basement. So he was one of the people that would bring inmates up to the court. I'm not sure how they do it now, if it's only court security members that go down into the jail and get them and bring them up and then take them back after court, or if they use jail guards. Now, I know back years ago they used people from the jail. You know, I guess they would use kind of a mixture, whoever was doing, because it was just in the basement. It wasn't like they had to take them outside or anything like that. They just had to walk them upstairs. And I even think somebody said they used to take them up in an elevator. There is an elevator. Okay, so let me get this up here. We also had another big case. I shared it on my Facebook, and I think it's really, why don't we read it real fast before we get into the deposition? Because now, y'all know, these depositions are long. They're really long. Let's see. You may not even be able to see it all. See, how about there we go. We can do it this way. That was better. Okay, you see this old big ugly mug here? Well, let me tell you what he's been charged with. Life sentences recommended for Perry County man. So this is right next door. He's a neighbor. Not neighbor to my house. I mean neighboring county. Right next door in Perry County, where Scott Blair was the prosecutor. Remember the other night we talked about Scott Blair, who ended up being charged with honest services fraud. Now, he was extorting, blackmailing, abusing sexually all the defendants, well, maybe not all, but a bunch of defendants that he was responsible for prosecuting. And he was extorting them for smecks and drugs, because apparently he was addicted to methamphetamine for the last 13 years as a prosecutor. Right next door? What, and nobody knew about it? Nobody knew. I find that very, very hard to believe. About the same as I do that nobody knew about Kevin Mullins. Nope, don't believe it. All right. So come here. He has been recommended life sentences, convicted of sexually assaulting multiple children. Attorney General Russell Coleman. Oh, you mean the AG? The one that just keeps ignoring the crimes that are happening in Letcher County? You mean the one that sent Matt Easter to investigate Ben? You mean the one that sent Matt Easter, the great investigator and detective, to interview Sabrina and Jennifer, and then the unnamed third woman? Okay, that AG. He announced today a significant victory in the fight against child abuse. As the Attorney General, come here. Stop. As the AG's Special Prosecutions Unit, SPU, so they have a Special Prosecutions Unit. Fascinating. And Letcher County and Pike County, well, I don't know about Pike County. I don't know if they are in that, well, yeah, they're in the state of Kentucky. AG covers the state of Kentucky. Very interesting, isn't it? That they have a Special Prosecutions Unit. Secured a guilty jury verdict against a Perry County man for numerous felonies, including the sexual assault of multiple children. Harrison Cress, 58, was convicted on multiple serious charges. 2 counts of the S word, first degree, child under 12, Class A felony. Well, isn't that, ain't that what Patrick Little was charged with? I think it was. 2 counts of S first degree. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe he didn't have the S word. Maybe that was a different one. But 3 counts of sexual abuse, first degree, child under 12. Well, you know, I seem to remember that Patrick Little was charged with 44. He was indicted. Let me rephrase that. He was indicted on 44 counts. 22 counts of sexual abuse, and then 22 counts of, I think it was unlawful transaction with a minor. And now I have got to look and see what his original indictment said. Patrick Little indicted, Kentucky. So I have got to see. Okay, first degree with a victim under 12. That's what I thought. All right, so Kentucky.gov says, but then they changed. Yeah, they changed. I remember that now. So he was indicted, and then whenever he was sentenced, they had to change one of his charges, one of the ones that he had been indicted on. You know, they ended up like dismissing 42 counts. They kept 1 count of the sexual abuse and 1 count of the unlawful transaction with a minor. They gave him a plea bargain. He signed the plea bargain with his defense attorney being his prosecutor, which, you know, never happens. But when you end up paying $100,000, I guess you can get anything done, can't you? But, so, let's see. I want to see exactly what the other charge was. 21 counts of sexual abuse, first degree. Same thing this guy's charged with. Now, this guy gets recommended life sentences, and Patrick Little didn't get no jail time. What? Really? Huh. Fascinating. And you let his own defense attorney be his prosecutor. He didn't even recuse until way after the plea bargain was signed. His plea bargain was signed in February, and Matt Butler didn't recuse himself until like September or October. And then he hands it over to Bill Sloan. So whose name is on that? Whose name? Bill Sloan's name's on it. But it wasn't handed to Bill until 6 months after everything had been done. No, there ain't no favorable treatment. Okay, 21 counts of sexual abuse, first degree with a victim under 12. And the other count was of unlawful transaction with a minor, first degree, illegal sex acts with someone under 16 years old. Patrick Little had 2 victims. And 20 counts of unlawful transaction with a minor, first degree, illegal sex acts with someone under 18 years old. Patrick Little, Judge Mullins's buddy, was taken to the Letcher County Jail, but he was released on $100,000 full cash bond. Walked right out the door. And then it's written into his plea bargain way before Bill Sloan ever got it that they were recommending to the judge that Patrick Little get 5 years house arrest and work release. He never served a day in jail. He walked in, posted bond, and walked right back out. Well, let's find out. Now, we know what Patrick Little got. He got real good old boy service for that $100,000, I guess. In response to the heinous nature of the crimes, the jury recommended 3 life sentences for Cress. The Attorney General's office revealed details of the abuse, noting that Cress groomed multiple children, a common tactic used by abusers involving giving gifts, attention, and or special privileges to build trust before exploiting and abusing them. Does that sound like what Ben Fields did to Sabrina and Jennifer, and then the other one who thought she was his real good friend? They all thought that they were special. They thought that they had built a special friendship with this man, but yet he was doing it with all of them. And they weren't, they all heard the rumors. Right? How many women do you think he did it with? Oh, but remember, because he didn't hold them down and rip their clothing off of them. They weren't forced. Okay, Matt Easter, you're such a great detective. We need to give you something to detect. The long-running abuse came to an end after one of the victims demonstrated immense courage and reported the conduct to her grandmother. But what if nobody would have believed her? What if the cops didn't want to do nothing? You know who this guy reminds me of? He looks a lot like Scotty Shelton. You remember Scotty Shelton? He's the alleged serial killer in London that was working for the DEA. He was just allowed to carry on with a whole torture chamber in his outhouse, equipped with jail bars, a cell, a rusty old cell in the upstairs of his building. You imagine how many people could have been up there, could have been held against their will? We got a list of a lot of people who went missing in Pikeville. Now, Pikeville, it's about the same distance to London as we are, about 2 hours. That's not a far travel. It's not a far distance to travel when you're trying to get rid of a witness. The investigation was significantly aided by the children's advocacy centers in Ashland and Hazard, which interviewed the victims, ultimately leading to Cress's arrest. Now, I don't know if it would be the same children's advocacy center, but if you remember several years ago, one of our nurses, the sex abuse nurse, the one that social workers and stuff would take children to see if they had been sexually abused, she herself was brought up on charges and indicted on sexual abuse. She started sleeping with a 16-year-old kid. And she was the nurse who abused children were taken to. She got 6 years in prison. We're going to talk about her too. These brave kids spoke up about their abuse, and their guardians believed them and then took action, said Attorney General Coleman. Well, Attorney General Coleman, we got a lot more that have some accusations to make. They've already made them. They're just waiting on somebody to listen. Someone to hear them. Crimes like this happen in communities across Kentucky, he says. Yeah, they do. And I encourage every adult to know the signs and how to report it. Really? Well, a lot of us do know the signs, and we know the signs because we were victims of it ourselves. Now, survivors. Yeah. 2 out of 3. Now, I don't know. This is probably an old statistic now. But back whenever I was first in recovery, 15 years ago, the statistic was staggering. 2 out of 3 women in rehab, in treatment, reported being sexually abused as a child. 2 out of 3. I'd say it's probably more than that now. 2.5. I'm deeply grateful to the amazing Children's Advocacy Center professionals, law enforcement, prosecutors, and advocates who stared into this darkness and secured a conviction so this abuser is never able to harm another child. You know, whenever they went to go interview Sabrina and Jennifer and the third unnamed lady, they absolutely should have taken a victim's advocate with them. That's the difference between sending somebody like Matt Easter and sending someone like what is it called? Well, that just says their special prosecutions unit. But I have a sneaking suspicion that they probably used their task force. Attorney General's office has a sex abuse task force. Where do they use it? We could have benefited from that task force right here in this investigation. Why were they not sent? Why was that task force not used? But it was used here? This case was investigated by the Kentucky State Police with assistance from the Perry County Sheriff's Office. Assistant Attorneys General Barbara Whaley. That name's awful familiar. We see her on a lot of this stuff. And Tony Stines. That name I've been seeing. Successfully prosecuted the case on behalf of the Commonwealth. Victim services were provided by McCall Allen with the Attorney General's Office of Victims Advocacy. Well, Sabrina Adkins sure could have used that. And then there's to report child abuse or neglect in Kentucky. Please call 877-597-2331 or 877-KYSAFE and a number 1. And so that is their hotline, tip lines, I guess. And then you've got a bunch of comments. I have known him most of my life. He is quiet and easygoing. People, you can't be too safe with your children. Women, please be careful who you bring in around your kids, because you can't undo the harm once it's done. That's exactly right. When you're all hot pantsing yourself at 20 and 30s, and you just can't sit down because your pants are on fire so much. Gotta have a man. Always out trying to find a daddy for these kids I got at home. Well, I'm almost 50, and I'm gonna tell you, I'll never get married again. And I'm a product of what happens when you remarry and you forget about the kids that you made with the previous wife. I'm the product of what happens when that little girl comes to your new house with your new wife, and she just reminds you guys, she just looks so much like her mommy. She just looks so much like her mommy, you want to just smack her in the head. You just don't want her around because she reminds you of a previous relationship. So hot pants Houlihan with her tail hanging out of the bottom of her shorts. You know, she's all that Daddy can think about now. That's all his attention's focused on. Them booty cheeks hanging out the bottom of the short shorts. And him 55 and her 20. Yeah, well, I'm the product of those children. You know, I'm one of those children that grow up damaged beyond belief. And it's only by the grace of God, that I survived. So pay attention to who you bring into your home, truthfully. And it's our responsibility. We're the parents. We're the adult. I remember he was a deputy working through the sheriff's office back in the 90s. Predators among us. There you go. Well, it's about time. They usually don't get enough time when the lifetime of the child is destroyed. That's right. What do you think Patrick Little's victims are going to go through that? They just going to forget about it? He didn't deserve it, did he? Oh, did those children somehow seduce him? Is he the victim here? because that's what he says. Patrick Little says he's innocent. He says he is innocent of all charges, but he pled guilty to the plea bargain because his lawyer told him he had to. If he didn't plead guilty, he was facing 30 years. Well, it doesn't look like you got any jail time out of it anyway, buddy. Looks to me like you got the deal of a century. Why would you be complaining about that? Right. Well, I got to thinking about that because I know all these people. Remember, I knew Kevin Mullins. I knew Mickey Stines. I know all the rest of them too. Even if it's just on a know who they are. But I know the rest of them too. And I knew Patrick Little. So Patrick tells me he's innocent after I do a story on him. Oh, he can't believe that I would cover that. Well, it's in the newspaper. Why can't we read the freaking newspaper articles? They act like because we read a newspaper article that the Mountain Eagle usually wrote, that we are somehow a bad guy for reading the paper. Now, does that make any sense? No, it don't. Not one bit. But, so Patrick Little, he says he's innocent, railroaded, set up. So I start wondering, is he? Could he be? Could he really be innocent? Could I be, accusing an innocent man, even though he pled guilty? Until I heard the victim's impact statement. Now remember, these were minors. So people weren't in there. That victim's impact statement was not printed in the newspaper. But I listened to it. Somebody read it to me. He's guilty. He's guilty. And he got the deal of the century. Don't come at me with that I'm innocent stuff. I heard that child's impact statement, and you're guilty of sin. All right. So we see with this cat, pun unintended, but with this cat, we see that there are laws on the books that would give them more time. How come Eastern Kentucky is just treating sexual abuse as a misdemeanor? No big deal, slap on the wrist. No problem. What? In what world? The Twilight Zone. That's why we're talking about Letcher County. Okay, what was I going to pull up? We are going over Eccles. Deposition. So we got Jason Eccles' deposition, and we got let's see. We've also got Lashauna's. Let me get this pulled up here. I thought I'd already sent it to me, but apparently it didn't. Okay. So we got Eccles, Lashana's, and somebody else's. Who else did I get? Patty's. We got Patty's too, y'all. All right. No, that's not going to let me open it that way. Let me see here. I may have to go in a different way here. Just a second, guys. I may have to just read it from my phone. Well, that's all right. We can do that too. Let's see if I can email it to myself real fast. Let me try to do it this way. Copy the link. I think that worked. Yep, it just took it a second. I got it. All right, here we go. Sabrina Adkins and the estate of Jennifer Hill. Let me close that out. All right, can y'all see everything? It's all going groovy. Always on that like button, like Elizabeth's on this corruption. You know, it's really sad that we have to even talk about all this stuff, you know? And then, if we do talk about any of this stuff, the ones of us that do, like, you better not ever need to call the police. Or at least that's how it makes me feel. I better not ever have to call cops on nobody. Or I better not ever have to call the police for help for nothing. Because they're not going to help me. At least that's how I feel, right? So I'm apprehensive to even call, ever. Like, I'm always that way. Now, I'm still that way, but I understand the importance of at least having a record on the CAD. And, you know, you at least have to have a record of a call, you know, just so it's documented somewhere. And so, you know, you just got to take your chances. Some of them might help you and some of them might not. Just got to figure it out. Take the chance. The deposition of Jason Eccles was taken on behalf of the plaintiff on January 15th, 2025. This is very important, that date. I think we actually read Lashauna's, didn't we? Do y'all remember? I think we read Lashauna's, but I don't think we had Jason Eccles. Did I forget that? Did we already do Eccles? I don't think we did. I think we just read Lashauna's. Do y'all remember us reading Jason Eccles's? But we've got new people here anyway, so even if we did, we'll just read it again. I do too. I hope we got some good ones left too. I mean, the good ones shouldn't care that we talk about corruption, right? The good ones should not care. They should be all we talk about, all we want are fair. We want to be treated fairly. We want public officials and law enforcement and, people who work in that realm. We just want them to do their jobs and just do them right. Don't treat it shouldn't be that some get special treatment and others just because because they might not like them. I mean, if that's the case, if my kid's baseball team beats their kid's baseball team, well, they're not going to help me because they're going to punish me for having a kid that was better athlete than theirs. That's not fairness. That's not justice. But those are the kind of immature, petty, childish, ego driven attitudes and biases that we see daily around here. So yes, Jason Eccles, just to kind of explain, let me pull up a picture of him real fast so that way everybody knows who we are talking about. Well, here is one of Jason Eccles is this one in the back row on the left-hand side. So just to kind of go over the, hey, do you want to come on? I just started.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Then I'll get over it.
Okay, I'll send you the invite. Bye. Love you. Bye. How's Mama? Sweet Tater's gonna come join us. Let me send her an invite real quick.
Wow.
And we'll have her here while we're going over this and reading it.
Oh no. You just take the whole over a blow. A whole over a blow.
Well, if I can get that bottom thing to go down. How do you get that bottom search bar at the bottom of your screen to go down? There it goes. There it goes. Okay. So just to kind of give us a breakdown on who's who, let me take him off. The bottom row. So let's start on the left-hand side with the short red hair, we'll start left to right and we'll go right. That is Christine Bowling. That is the one that had her hands all over Mickey. Okay. She's the one that's in the video. The middle girl, her name is Lexi Stambaugh. She was a sheriff's deputy for a very, very short period of time. She wasn't there very long, and I think she's at Pikeville now. Somebody told me she was working either for Pikeville PD or she's working for the Pikeville College PD. I'm not sure which. But, and then again, she could be off somewhere else. I don't know. But that's where I heard she was last. The girl on the far right is LaShawna Frazier. She's the one that I say has job security. She has managed to hold on to that job security. Every time a new sheriff takes office, they have the choice to either rehire deputies who were serving under the last sheriff, or he can just hire all new deputies, all new staff. He does not, or they do not have to keep anybody from the last administration. So that's a good little perk about being elected. You get to choose your own staff for any office. As far as I know, unless they've got one that they can't, but I've not heard of it. And look at our audits. I would guess that she is the one who actually does all of that stuff, all of the paperwork and the office work. Well, how well has she really been doing it? Our audits don't really tell us a whole lot. There haven't been any forfeiture reports turned in since like 2016 or something like that. The last time I saw, I don't remember what the year was, but where's the forfeiture reports for the entire sheriff's department for every year? Like, where are any of it? I don't know. You know, I just kind of think it's time to be putting somebody else in there. It's my opinion. Anyway, maybe somebody who knows a little bit more about budgeting and doing those kinds of reports, paperwork, filings, stuff like that. Let's go back up to the next row. That's our new sheriff, Billy Jones. That's the guy who accidentally shot a guy he was trying to tase. I guess he accidentally pulled his sidearm instead of his taser. That happened in Nicholasville, Kentucky. Now, he's a really, really, really soft-spoken fella. I've only talked to him myself like once. And he just didn't strike me as the type of guy that would ever discipline one of his deputies. We also see by looking at this picture that he worked under Mickey Stines. Mickey's in the back row in the middle. We weren't used to him having a big critter on his lip. But he's back there in the middle with that critter on his lip. And Ben Fields is on the far right next to Mickey. And Jason Eccles, who we're getting ready to read his deposition, is on this side of Mickey. Eccles was also in the group chat that we've been reading from time to time. It's very, very immature, like I said. It's childish. It's locker room behavior. But at first, whenever we really when we started reading through it, I thought that it was just kind of like a work chat for a few. Like I thought it was, I don't know why I thought this, but I did. I thought it was Mickey. I thought it was Norris, Eccles, and Ben Fields. I don't remember if I thought anybody else was in there or not, but I know that I thought it was them. And I guess maybe it was just because that was the only people that I had read so far in the Discovery. But the other night, whenever we started going back and reading through a lot of that stuff, I realized they had the entire sheriff's department on, they had the entire sheriff's department on that work chat. It wasn't just a few people. So that means those women were on there too. That's what that means. The women who worked at that sheriff's department, or unless I'm wrong, I'm assuming, which you know what assuming does, but I'm assuming that those women were also on that group chat. Unless I'm wrong. Hi, Mommy.
Hi, little girl. Are you talking about that group chat where they were naughty?
Yeah, but we are getting ready to read some of this deposition. We got Jason Eccles' deposition, and this was from they just took these depositions this year. They took these in January of this year. So this was after the shooting happened. Kevin Mullins was dead at the time that they did these depositions. So I think that's very important to know as we go, as we read them. The deposition versus it's Sabrina Atkins and the estate of Jennifer Hill. Now, remember, too, Jennifer Hill's estate has been dismissed from this lawsuit now. Mm-hmm. So it's only Sabrina that's left. And she's not hanging on by much. So Ben was sued individually and in his official capacity as a deputy sheriff with the Letcher County Sheriff's Department. Okay, so since these are so long, we will try to yeah, I'll try to skip over some of it. I wanted to see who, on behalf of defendants, Jonathan Shaw, Jason Williams, Sabrina was present, it says. I think she was there for all of them. I don't think she missed a one. And Sabrina's been very she's not come out and talked because she can't right now. But don't take her silence that she doesn't want to. And I'm not speaking for her or anything. I've just spoken to her myself. And I know that it's not because of a lack of want. She wants to talk. She just right now, this lawsuit is still pending, and so she's tried to do what they've told her to do. Direct examination by Bethany Baxter. Reporters. So Bethany Baxter's the one who did this. It was not Ned. I've not seen where Ned did anything in any of the depositions. Jason Eccles, the witness, having been sworn by the court reporter. Okay. She says, good morning. I just started. So it's fairly, and she's just telling him what to do or what to expect. Don't be shy. Ask me to repeat a question. Okay. And then she tells him about breaks. Okay. Is there any reason that you don't think you can give this deposition today and answer my questions truthfully? No. Are you on any kind of medicine or substance that would impair your ability to give deposition? Nope. Tell me what you did to prepare for your deposition. I just spoke with the lawyer. Okay. Did you review any documents? We reviewed some. Okay, give me 1 minute. My client Sabrina Adkins is joining the call. What documents did you review? Just different things that was sent between me and Ben. Okay, would those be Facebook messages? Those are the ones that we've been going over that I was just talking about. Yes. Any text messages? I'm not sure if there was text messages or not. I just know it was mostly Facebook messages because, like I've said 1,000 times, around here in the mountains, people didn't know about, especially the older ones. And these guys are older. They're not young spring chickens. So they may have just barely understood Snapchat. But you didn't have people using, these weren't techie people. They used Facebook Messenger. I would find it hard to believe that any of them were really very advanced with technology. Remember, there are very few trained or educated. So Mr. Shaw. So Facebook Messenger is just the favorite kind of culturally, I guess, around here. Bethany, for the record, it is the information that you produced. Okay, thanks for that. When was the last time you spoke to Ben Fields? I can't really recall. It has been quite a while. Now remember, his wife is working upstairs in the courtroom. So, Jason Eccles is working side by side with Ben's wife every single day. Still to this day, he works with Ben's wife. I can't really recall. It's been quite a while. Okay, can you give me your best guess? Have you spoken to him in the last month? Maybe the past 2 months, but not in the past month. When you spoke to him most recently within the last 2 months, what did you all discuss? I was doing some training with my firearm and I just sent him a video. Have you discussed this lawsuit with Mr. Fields? No. We're just best friends. But no, I didn't dare. Really? Come on, Eccles. I'd discuss it with my best friend, wouldn't you? When was the last time you spoke to Mickey Stines? I guess the day he shot the judge. Do you recall ever speaking to Mr. Stines about this lawsuit? Not in detail. I asked him if he was okay because he'd been stressed out. Will you repeat the last thing that you said? I started to interrupt you. I apologize. That was about it. Just me asking him if he was okay. When was that? September 19th, I believe is the date. Okay. Was that the date of the shooting? Yes. Okay. And I know that is probably a difficult subject to discuss, and I don't ask you these questions to belabor it, but I do need to ask a few questions. So, I think he gave a deposition on Monday. Are you saying that you didn't speak to him about it until Thursday? That I can recall. That's the only time. I just asked him if he was okay. I told him that he seemed stressed out. Why? And so you're saying you saw him Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and you never asked him about the deposition? And y'all are working right there with Ben's wife, and the judge. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. They all also wrote and signed affidavits to the effect that nobody ever came in and tried to report that Banfields was even doing this stuff. They all denied it. Okay, did he talk to you before he gave his deposition about the fact that he was going to be giving a deposition? He kind of, I think he told me. He told me that he was going to give a deposition, but I didn't know when it was going to be. Okay, did you understand the deposition that he was going to give to be the deposition in this case? Yes. So this case was filed back in 2022. Do you recall discussing this lawsuit and the facts related to this lawsuit with Mickey Stines between 2022 and September 19th of last year? She doesn't want to know anything that you may have met about over discovery issues or anything that we've talked about in the past or that Mickey may have been in on the conversation with. She doesn't want to know what that. Sorry. Are you asking me if me and Mickey had conversations about the lawsuit? Yes. Not really. He just kind of kept me updated, but nothing in detail. Okay. Tell me how that he kept you undated. I guess that would be updated. Remember, these depositions are horrendously errored. There's a ton of grammar errors in this. It was fairly short answers. He would say, hey, I got a deposition I'm doing. Mostly he would just say, I talked to the lawyers, and that was usually it. Did you ever discuss Sabrina Adkins? Nope. But remember, old Daniel Dotson told in his state police interview from the shooting that Mickey was getting sued by some crackhead. Even after Ben, this was after Ben even served his sentence. Because Daniel Dotson's the sleaze bag of them all. Sorry, Mommy. All right. Okay, aside from speaking with your attorney or the attorneys for the sheriff's office, did you discuss your deposition with anybody else? No, you didn't talk about it with any of your coworkers? I told them that I had a deposition to do because we had court today, and I told them that I had to come over here and I wouldn't be over there to help. Okay, are you in the Letcher County Sheriff's office right now? I am. I want to hear a little bit about where you were born and raised. Are you from Letcher County originally? I was born in Marion County, Indiana, and I moved to Letcher County. I was probably about 6 years old, maybe. Have you lived in Letcher County since that time? There was a period of time that I lived in Pikeville for a few years, and then we moved back, and I've been here since. Do I understand that prior to working for Letcher County Sheriff's Office, you worked at the Letcher County Jail? They all promote from within. I did. Tell me the time period that worked for the jail. I worked there 4 years, I believe. Before that, I started at the sheriff's office. Did you work at the jail with Ben Fields? I did. Is that when you met Ben Fields, or did you already know him prior to that? That's where I met him. Okay, and what of the county? I guess what parts of Letcher County have you lived in? I lived in Mayking and Millstone, and I lived in Isom, and I currently live in Colson. Okay, when did you meet Mickey Stines? When I worked at the jail. He was the bailiff at the time. He would come down and get inmates to go up to court. Was he also the home incarceration officer at that time? I believe so, yes. Okay, have you ever had any outside employment other than the sheriff's office during the time period that you have worked for the sheriff's office? No. I want to ask you a little bit about your relationship with Sheriff Stines. It is my understanding that you and Ben would sometimes go to Sheriff Stines' house to play poker. Yeah, every now and then. Okay. What do you mean by every now and then? I went a few times and I would not go a couple of times. Huh? I went a few times and I would not go a couple of times.
That
Just
just
whenever
means,
that I had the time.
yeah,
Do I?
he didn't always go.
Yeah.
There
But
were
you
times
know,
he had.
but you know, these people talk in riddles sometimes with this broken. I mean, I know I'm hillbilly. I know I don't talk with proper grammar at all. Now, punctuation and stuff like in a professional piece of work is different than just throwing something up on Facebook. At least to me it is. But
Well, we typically leave out a lot of these and ands and my.
mhm.
So there are filler words that we leave out. And I remember when I was first on Facebook, I had a lot of people from up in New England that sort of poked fun at me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a hard time with these depositions because when they make so many errors like that, it's hard to understand what they meant when this is a document that they were swearing under oath that they were telling the truth about. And so when the deposition is done so poorly that you can't even understand what they're saying,
Well,
is it?
they didn't have that stuff that self correction now would have taken care of that.
Well, they have to type what the person says. So they couldn't like fix their grammar. But if somebody is
But
saying
they
one
spelled
word and
further.
they misspell it and completely spell a different word, how do and it may mean the exact opposite of what the person is trying to say. You see what I
Well,
mean?
yeah. I don't know if technology helped them there or if technology will help them now.
Yeah.
Because sometimes my words get all jumbled up.
Well, mine do too. I'm just talking about the spelling of the actual word, like updated. It said it
Well,
was
maybe they can't.
undated.
Well, I don't know what the rules and regulations are, but I don't understand why they leave so many errors in it that are the spelling errors that look to be on the part of the recorder. But I would say that they're not allowed to go back and change anything.
Well, if the correct word should be updated, UP, and they write undated, well, that means if that's an actual word, I mean, at least I would think so. I would read that and think, well, they didn't date that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And it is very poor and it is confusing. Confusing.
Well, and I'm
Up in the mines of Cold Creek.
I'm kind of a professional prude, I guess.
Yes, you are. You are a professional prude about that kind of thing. But remember that you're a good writer. You're very good with language. I was never
Well,
very good with it.
I just, I can't. It's hard for me to. It's a pill I can't hardly swallow. That here our system is in such shambles. And but it's these little things when you don't, it's like the broken windows theory. If you go into a poor neighborhood and people have moved out and you've got some bratty kid in the neighborhood that goes around throwing rocks and breaking all the windows in the abandoned houses, like Mud Town down here, It's absolutely awful. It looks awful because people have broke all the windows out in those houses down there. And, a lot of them are empty because of the flood or whatever, but it sure didn't help anything. Whenever those houses end up, you got those little crimes like breaking the windows out and stuff like that, it causes bigger crime to come in. But anyway, okay, let me get back. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. I went a few times and I would not go a couple times. All right. Did Ben Fields go more regularly to those poker games than you would go? Yeah, that I know of. Aside from yourself and Ben, were any other persons who got invited to those parties who also worked for the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? I can't say if anybody else was invited. It wasn't my place to ask who was coming. It was his house, and it wasn't my place to ask. Well, okay. But it was just mostly friends. Aside from yourself and Ben, did you ever see any other Letcher County Sheriff's Office employees at those parties? Nope. Did you ever see any other courthouse employees at those poker parties? Not that I can recall. Did Judge Mullins or Judge Kraft ever attend those poker parties? Not when I was there. I understand. That is what I'm asking, just to your knowledge. Yeah, because come on now. Remember, I suspect that everybody involved in this civil lawsuit knew to stay away from any questions really involving Judge Mullins. And we'll see. We'll see. Let's see how many questions they ask him about that. There's one. But all they asked him was, did they come to Mickey Stines' poker parties? That's it. So far. I understand. Do you recall ever talking with Sheriff Stines about his work as the home incarceration officer? I have never really. Not really. Really? Whatever. I did not talk to him about it. He said that he had done it for quite a few years, I believe, but that was about it. Okay. Had anyone ever told you anything about Mickey Stines having a sexual relationship with a person on home incarceration? I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Have you ever heard anything about Mickey Stines having a sexual relationship with a person on home incarceration? Now they're asking him about Mickey. They're not asking him about Ben. No, I've never heard any conversation like that. Okay, have you ever had anyone tell you anything about Sheriff Stines having a sexual relationship with a person outside of his marriage? Possibly. Okay, explain that to me. I can't say. He has talked about other women, but it says woman, so that's singular. I don't know when he was married or anything like that. I can't say. I realize. Just tell me what you heard. Just that he had, I guess, slept some other woman or some woman. So, you see how that drives me crazy? I guess slept some other woman, singular, or some woman, singular. Like, it completely messes up the entire thing for me. But remember, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. Does anybody else know? Does this crap stand up in a court of law? Would this deposition, if the judge or somebody, a lawyer, had to refer to a section in here, if they had to refer to that section right there, I slept some other woman or some woman. How would they be able to show what they were what he was even meaning? I would want my money back. These are civil lawsuits that are like this civil lawsuit triggered a criminal investigation. I mean, we just read the newspaper article on a man who was just recommended 3 life sentences. This is really, really important stuff. And the fact that it's not that important to these people just shocks me.
Yeah,
You don't know the woman's name? No, it was none of my business. Oh, whatever. But yet all we saw on their messages was their dirty stuff. Like one of them sent a picture of, they took a picture of their shorts, and they had these real short blue jean shorts on. And now I don't know, to be fair, I don't know if they actually took the picture of themselves or if it was something that they got off the internet. I don't know. But it was a picture of their lap, and they had, it was either Eccles or Ben. It was one of the two that sent it to the group. And the shorts were really, really short, blue jean shorts, cut off. So they had the strings hanging down. And this giant pecker was sticking out with a big hard on, sticking out the side of the shorts. You know, it's like longer than the shorts, than the cut off shorts. I mean, they just think that they're so funny. There was a big naked fat man with Mickey's head on a turtle, riding a turtle with his big ugly pecker hanging out. I mean, you know that they're meaning them to be funny, but you know, it's not
crass
funny.
humor. It's crass humor.
Well,
It's
and
inappropriate.
it's inappropriate. Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you're out with your buds, well, I can't say that I even think that there's ever a time that it would be appropriate, to tell you the truth. Because the joke is always, you know, it's always slanted towards something about a woman.
Mm-hmm. Always. It's all sexual humor. And our new sheriff, Billy Jones, was in that chat. We got messages from him in there. Now, I don't think he was sending any dirty ones, but he was still in that group chat. He was observing the other ones doing it.
Well, maybe I hope that he decided that he wasn't going to let that stuff go on under him.
Well, I'd have to see it to believe it if he ever addressed it. Because why didn't somebody address it when it was happening? If they didn't have the nards to address any of that stuff when it was happening, I don't think they got the nards to do it now. Because if they do now, then they have to, that's the same thing. Like I said, why didn't Whitesburg mayor come out and condemn that? And so somebody said, well, the Whitesburg doesn't control the jail. No, they sure don't. I understand that. But it is right up the street from City Hall. I mean, just because the county runs it, it's still right there in Whitesburg.
You know, they don't want to take sides because they don't want to offend people. Now, you and me and you, we'd be right there flapping our jaws, if you know what I mean. But a lot of people don't want to get involved in things because then it's going to look back on what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but if you're an elected official, you know, it might be a good idea to mention something like we're just not going to, you know, we're not going to stay in this. But no, you know why nobody mentions it? Because Ben's wife is still working up there. She gets her big promotion and she gets to walk right up in there and on the day which I don't get. I mean, what's she got over people? Like, does she have some kind of information that she's got something? No, but Ben does. Maybe she does. Heck, I don't know. There have been a whole lot of accusations against her. There have been a whole lot of men having sex in those closets down in the jail. It ain't all been women.
Well,
All right, well, let's move on to this.
yeah.
No, it wasn't none of my business. I walked out of the room. Explain to me who was saying that to you and what room you were in. Oh, I think I missed something. I can't say. I heard. I realized. Just tell me what you heard. Just that he, I guess, slept some other woman or some women, I guess. I don't know who it was. You don't know the woman's name? No, it was none of my business. I walked out of the room. Explain to me who was saying that to you and what room you were in. I believe I was in probably the room we would sit in, I guess, congregate. The jury room, the smoke room. Man, I'd love to get paid to sit up there in a smoke room. We was just sitting there talking BS and, shooting the breeze like they always do. Who else was in that room? I can't recall. It was a conversation that I wasn't interested in. I was just walking out of the room. How long ago was this conversation? I can't recall. It has been a long time. Was it during the time period that you were working as a CSO at the courthouse? Yeah. Was it during a time period where Ben Fields was also working as a CSO? Yeah. Was Ben Fields also in that room when this conversation was occurring? It was a good possibility. I can't recall. It's been so long. So it was prior to January of 22, correct? Because that is when Ben Fields stopped working for the Letcher County Sheriff's Office. Yep, had to. Anything else that you can remember about that conversation? No, like I said, I wasn't interested in the conversation, so I just exited the room. Well, who was the person that had the information that you were not interested in? I guess it was Mickey. We was just talking about people and people that we knew. You mean gossiping? Y'all's up there gossiping. Really? No, say it isn't so.
I like to gossip.
Me too. And stuff like that, and people we knew, and just stuff like that. Just small talk about different things. I guess he used to date somebody or something. There was some other person that came up, and that is how the conversation started. Was the person, I guess, that Mickey Stines was telling you about, were you talking about that person? Because that person had some sort of criminal case going on in the circuit or district court? No, not that I remember. It wasn't nothing like that. But I don't really remember why we was talking about certain people. I mean, it is a small town, and everybody knows everybody. Yeah, see, they sit up there and sit and talk about us like dogs. And then they go in the courtroom. And it ain't just them. Think about who's sitting up there in that smoke room. Who've we already seen? The judge sits up there. Matt Butler sits up there. The prosecutor. The defense attorneys sit up there. Matt Butler was a defense attorney when he was sitting there at that table with his feet all propped up with Angie. All of them sit up there in that smoking room and just hang out. I think that's how most of them cases were decided. And at that time, you had old Michael Clarkey Pooh hanging out. The best friend. That was like you, Ben Fields, and Mickey Stines were part of that conversation, correct? Yeah. Who else was a part of that conversation? Like I said, I can't really recall who was there. It was so long ago. Were there other persons there aside from the three of you? Possibly. You know, all they would have had to do was pull the security video and they could see who all was sitting there when they were talking about it. Very easy for an investigator to do such a thing, especially when the AOC is the one who controls those videos. Be very easy to do. And then see if any of them lied. And you said that you were in jury room. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask you specific. When did you start working for the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? 2000. I can't really remember dates. 2019 maybe. Okay. So let's focus on the time period from 2019 until January of 22. That is the time period that I'm interested in. During that time period, am I correct that you were the bailiff for circuit court? Yep. And then, after Ben Fields was terminated from his employment, did you become the bailiff for district court after that? Or did your job change at all after Ben Fields left his employment with the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? After that he left, I was the bailiff for both circuit and district. Well, how cool is that? Okay. Mickey would come over and help sometimes when he could, and some of the road deputies would come over and help sometimes if we had court in both courts. But primarily, when I got done with one, I went to the other. Okay, has that remained true until today, or was there ever another CSO hired? Yes, Mike Infuse was hired, the one that made me believe he was Don McCall. And then he started in Judge Kraft's circuit, and I was primarily in district. Did Mr. Infuse, had he worked as a bailiff before? Yep. He also worked in the jail. They don't hardly ever hire no new people. They promote from within. It seems like they keep the same old people that have been proven to not tattle. Do you know if when he had worked for the sheriff's office before as a CSO, had he been assigned to the court or district court? He was in circuit. Okay. So after that, he came back to circuit, and you stayed as primarily, at least as the district court bailiff after Infuse came back. Is that correct? Yeah. Did you know Judge Kraft before you started working as a CSO? I knew of him. Where that I worked at the jail, I knew what he looked like, but I didn't really speak with him any. What about Judge Mullins? Did you know him before you started working as a CSO? About the same. I didn't know him, but I knew him because he was the judge and I worked at the jail. Let me reach out. Okay, I used CSO and bailiff interchangeably because I understand them to mean the same thing. But do you think of it the same way, or am I correct in that? Yeah. Thank you. Isn't it true that Benfield served as a reference for you when you applied to work at the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? Yeah. Did he otherwise help you get the job beyond just being your reference? He came and told me that the job was open and told me to put in the application. And he told me that he would try to help me get a job because I was not wanting to stay at the jail. Of course, nepotism at its finest. Because someone like me just was not allowed to have a job, period. Didn't matter what I applied for. I wasn't allowed to have one. Okay.
I guess they judged that right because you would have tattled it all, wouldn't you? You would have had to keep pictures and video and notes. Buddy, that would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well,
they knew
all
that
right.
you had principles and would stand up to them. That's the only
Well.
reason they want you there.
Oh, I was thinking that though, Mommy. If I had gotten my foot in the door,
Yeah.
you know, or this, I was thinking this today. It wasn't just working down there. What if I had went to that bar down there? You remember like back in 2008, this was before my kids were born. I was going across. I never would go to Whitesburg and go to the bar because I was afraid I'd get caught for a DUI.
Well, yeah,
So
but they didn't have any bars in Whitesburg at that time, did they?
they had street side, or they had Summit City. They had one of them down there. I don't remember which one, but they had something down there. I went to the Candlelight over in Virginia across the mountain because it was closer, you know, I guess.
Well, have they closed that Candlelight?
Yeah, it's something else now. It's something else now. But I was thinking about it and I thought, you know, whenever I was drinking and hot pantsing around, you know, what if I had went down there and got, and all it takes is to be drinking and be dancing out on the floor, and some guy, they get their beer goggles on both ways. They get their beer goggles on and you get yours on. And then somebody doing the walk of shame in the morning. I did enough of them walks of shame in the morning. My gosh. But, you know, that's what I'm saying. It could have went all bad, you know, and it's just by the grace of God. I never ended up hooking up with somebody like that because, you know, I mean, I was the same way. I was just as manipulative and, you know, you're always looking to survive somehow and we're all, and I'm not, listen, we're all the same way. We're all human. We look for the easiest money, you know. People don't want to get out and work all day if they can get it, lay on their back for 15 minutes and get it. I mean, you know, if you got a man saying, here, all I want is 10 minutes of your time, you ain't even got to touch it. Just lay there. And they're going to give you $1,000. And you got, you know, electric bill due and senior trip or, you know, 8th grade nights coming up. I mean, what do you think people are going to do? Some people are going to do what, and you got to remember, a lot of times people that are in those positions, they don't have their kids. because what we've learned is these women get in the court system. DD, old Daniel Dotson, ends up taking their kids for whatever reason, whether it's because he sided with a spouse over, and it can go either way. We've heard accusations both ways. We've heard that Daniel was sleeping with the mom, so he took the kid from the dad and gave it to the mom, or the kids plural, or he was poker buddies with the dad, and so the mom ends up failing a drug test and going to jail. I mean, they have the power to make, break, and destroy people's lives, and they've been playing all this stuff like a fiddle, playing all these people, playing the community, the justice system. I mean, our law enforcement. It's unbelievable how perverted that they have gotten our entire culture. It ain't just the system. People in our community are actually supporting this kind of behavior. Shocking. Anyway, all right. Did you and Judge Mullins develop sort of a friendly relationship? Yeah. Were you and Judge Mullins and Ben Fields joke around periodically? Now, see, that doesn't even make sense. Were you and Judge Mullins and Ben Fields joke around periodically? Like, the sentences don't even match up. Could this be intentional? So if it did ever go to court, they could say that's unusable? Is that a possibility? That these depositions would be intentionally messed up so bad, full of errors, that if it did ever go to court, it would be unusable. I would have to have the audio, and I don't even know with the audio. This is the transcription of it. But I think it's just a shame. I think it's shameful. And I'm not going to quit bitching about it. I'm sorry.
Well,
Okay, and there were some documents, I thought that maybe I saw someone pass you a hard copy. Yeah, I want to ask you about a few of those. These are some documents that we got from the Attorney General's office through Ben Fields' criminal case and their investigation. In the first 4 pages, do you recognize those exchanges between yourself and Ben? Yes. I was just wondering why you were asking Ben Fields to put Kevin's head on this guy's body. Now they're talking about those memes. You remember the meme? I put it on one of my thumbnails. It's a black and white picture. And, well, I think this is the one. But there were several of them. But this one might be the one that they're talking about. I don't know, but I'm sure they'll bring it up. But it's a picture, a black and white picture of Eccles, and it's got Eccles's mom on one side, and it's got Eccles's wife on the other side. And somebody, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Ben, Eccles, who, I don't know. But one of them took Judge Mullins's head, a picture of his head, and put it over top of Eccles, and so it looks like Judge Mullins has his arms around Jason's wife and his mom. And you can imagine what the implication of that is. Keeping it all in the family. Doesn't his wife have red hair, y'all? Doesn't Jason Eccles' wife have red hair and wear glasses? I was just wondering. It was just a poorly made joke, he says. I don't understand the jokes. What was the joke? It was just basically Kevin knew who my mother was. Okay. We just made a joke where I guess Kevin was real fond of my mom. Professional. There was nothing they done. We just made a joke that Kevin was trying to be my stepdad. But it wasn't nothing. It was just between me and Ben. Oh, okay, Jason. Okay, Eccles. Okay, did you ever show any of these images to Judge Mullins? Probably. I'm going to say yeah, just because we thought it was funny. I guess you were saying the joke was that Judge Mullins wanted to be your stepfather and I guess marry your mom, even though Mullins is already married to the young girl. Yeah. What kind of work does your mom do? She's a bank teller. Oh, bank teller. What bank? Whitaker Bank. Is that the one that's right across the street? Was Judge Mullins and your mom friends? Or did they know each other outside the connection with you? I don't know. I guess where she worked at the bank. He banked there, and they knew each other, and they would see each other at ball games sometimes. I have not read this, you all. I am reading this with you, and you're getting my blind reaction. It's all BS. Were you aware of any rumors about Judge Mullins having any kind of sexual relationship with people outside his marriage? Oh, come on, Eccles. Come on. Am I going to see it? Are you going to admit it? Are you going to be the first one to admit it? Let me see. I'm about scared to look because I know he ain't going to. I heard rumors. Oh, my God, he did. He admitted it. He's the first one to say he'd heard the rumors, ain't he? Or am I remembered that wrong? Do y'all remember anybody else saying they heard the rumors? I don't remember anybody else saying it, but I got a bad memory, so y'all let me know. I heard rumors, but I don't know any details of the rumors. I never did. Were you aware of those rumors during this 2019 to early 22 time period? Not when I first started at the sheriff's office, but as I worked a little bit more, people would ask me, ask me how my job is doing and say, well, I heard this. And I would say, I don't know nothing about that. Did you hear any rumors like that when you were working at the jail? No. Okay. Help me understand what kind of rumors you were hearing. I need a little more specificity about what you were hearing. Oh, I like this Bethany Baxter. I've said that many times. I like Bethany Baxter, and I've never met her. Just rumors how he was, I guess, was getting favors for certain sentences or whatever. All right, Eccles, come on now. Did you hear any of those rumors from women who were in the criminal justice system there in Letcher County? No. Okay. Where were you hearing those kind of rumors from? It was just people who would speak. And I can't recall anybody specific. Of course not. People that I know who was just asking me how that my job was doing. Can you name anyone? No, because I don't want to get them in trouble. No, not right off the bat. No, I can't recall anybody. How often had you heard that rumor? Once or twice? Maybe 3 times. Maybe 3 times. Maybe. Come on, man. Maybe. Remember, Jason Eccles had to take a lie detector test too. Jason Eccles had to take a lie detector test to work as courtroom security. I wonder how his background check came back. Or not background check, his polygraph. Polygraph. Jason had to take a polygraph too. I wonder what his polygraph will show.
Well, enough to pass it.
Well, Ben passed his too, and he admitted to having sex in the chambers.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that it didn't make any difference about the polygraph as long as they told the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I want to see the answers.
It didn't matter. The truth shall set you free.
Yep. All right.
Now
Did
back
you
to
report? Okay, Mommy, I'll see you later. I love you.
Oh, I wasn't going to bed yet.
Oh, okay. Good. All
I'm
right.
just acting bad.
Okay. Had you heard anything specifically about oh, wait a minute. Wait. Did you report to Sheriff Stines or anyone else that you had heard those rumors? I did not report it. Okay. Had you heard anything specifically about those types of activities occurring in Judge Mullins's chambers? Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, you must have talked too fast. Had you heard anything about those sorts of activities occurring in Judge Mullins's chambers? No, I never did hear of anything. Like I said, just a few rumors that I've heard. That was it. Okay. It is your testimony that you can't remember who you heard those rumors from. Yeah. It was just random people like that. I knew. I can't, I am trying to think. I can't recall who it was. It was just asking me about my new job was going. It was just asking me about my new job was going.
Quit that.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Ben Fields about those kind of rumors? Not that I can recall. Did you ever talk to Judge Mullins about those rumors? No, not that I can recall. Okay. In the stack of papers that you have got a copy of, and I'm going to mark that first one as Exhibit 1. This is another thing that was in the production, and it looks like a screenshot. Is that woman your mother? I'm looking at the 5th page, and I know they're not marked. This one? Correct. Yes, that is my mother. Okay. And then it looks like you, screenshot. You took a screenshot of that and sent it to Ben Fields. Do you see that? I don't see that. Well, the next page, which is the next page in the production, is a conversation between you and Fields. Do you see that? Yeah. And you say, I leave Letcher County for 1 day, and Ben Fields thought that was funny. Yeah. Is that part of the same joke about Judge Mullins being your stepdad? Yeah. I guess Judge Mullins was in on the joke because it looks like he sent you that photo of him and your mother. He wasn't really in on it. He knew that we were joking about it, but he sent that to me because he saw my mom. Okay. Did your mom grow up in Letcher County? No, she growed up in Indiana. The next one. I'm not sure if you know anything about this, the next couple of pages. Again, it is some other documents that came to us via the criminal investigation. But in looking at those, there are some reference of someone named Chris. Was there anybody named Chris who worked at the courthouse, or could that have been around the courthouse in 21? Maybe Chris Rose is the only Chris that I can really recall. Okay, and who's Chris Rose? Rose. He worked at the Letcher County Jail. Okay, do you remember anything about what is referenced here in looking at this website for someone named Christy? I'm sorry, what now? I'm looking at these few pages. I'm acknowledging that you weren't included in this, but I just noticed this recently, and it looks like there is some conversation around the jail and courthouse about a judge wanting folks to look at a shady website, sluts.com. Looking at some nudes of some people local to Whitesburg. What? The judge and these boys were looking at some OnlyFans pictures of some of our community members. Oh, no, say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. I just was wondering if you remember this, or if you know what this is even about. I have no clue what sluts.com is. Good job, Jason. Okay, do you know of anyone named Christy who might have had some scandalous photos on the internet? Anybody from Whitesburg? I know a Christy. I don't know if she has any scandalous photos. Okay. Who is Christy? Christy Williams. And at the time, I believe that she was a pre-trial officer. Oh. Tell me this is not the same one that was in Judge Mullins's chambers that we got the interview from. Is this the same girl in the green dress that Michael Clark almost ran over? Is that Christy Williams? I'm pretty sure that's who that was, wasn't it? Ain't that what they said her name was? Oh, where's my person?
Maybe.
I think that's who that is.
Look here, Elizabeth.
Oh, look at that baby.
Dog to sit on your lap and give you kisses. I mean, I know you got big ones, but little ones are so much better.
They are. My big ones knock you down. Mommy can't even hardly come to my house ever because my dogs will knock her over. So anyway, I've not gotten a response yet.
Looky here. Looky here.
Letcher County inmate supposedly allegedly just died. Not really sure. I don't have a name yet. Haven't confirmed it yet, but someone very credible said a Letcher County inmate just died. I don't know all the story yet, but allegedly.
See, I'm showing you.
Look, there's Eefy. Hi, Eefy.
Little Eefy.
Put your camera down some where we can see you good. There.
Now, Eefy, look at him. Bark for him. Barks at me. When she wants me to she wants me to hold her, she'll bark.
All right. So, Christy Williams. Who is Christy? Christy Williams. And at that time, I believe that she was a pre-trial officer. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you knew anything about that. I want to ask you a couple of questions about accessing the judge's chambers. Would the badges that you would have had as a CSO, would they have the same capabilities as far as where you could and could not go within the courthouse as any other CSO during this 2019 to 22 time period? We didn't have badges that we used to get. Some of the doors had badges, but not all of them. They had to keep a corridor free for all their dirt. You know, we got some dirty stuff we gotta go do. And all these people just think they're so cool. They just so cool. And did those badges all say, and I will use that term, did those badges all allow you to access any part of the courthouse, or were there certain places that you could not access? That I don't think there was anything in that courthouse that you couldn't access. Like I could go, I had access to certain, like I could go through the judge's entrance on the side to get to the main lobby. And to circuit court clerk Jimmy Kraft's secretary, it allowed me to get to her office and the jury room upstairs, and that was it for my badge. I had a key for, I'm going to say, most of the building. There was some rooms that it didn't work. Okay, and what about Judge Mullins' chambers? Would the badge that you have allow you to access Judge Mullins' chambers? No. Was that because of the way that your badge was programmed, or was that because of the way that the building was set up, for a lack of a better word? His chambers didn't have a badge. It used a key, and I didn't have a key to it. When you say key, you are talking about a good old-fashioned metal key? Yeah. And are they talking about that same chambers where he got shot, or are they talking about the other chambers that has been mentioned several times? There's a whole other room that has a keypad that I heard. It supposedly had a wooden table or a big wooden desk, and it looked much more like a judge's chambers. That room where we see him get shot, he has a cheap old desk. You know, there ain't hardly nothing in it. He's got that quilt behind him. It just looks more like a room that you would take somebody to set up a plea bargain or something. It sure doesn't look like a judge's chambers. Not to me. And we've heard many times one of the women who said Ben did what he did swears up and down that that is not the room she was AR'd in. Says it was a different room altogether. But who knows? Who knows? All right. When you say key, are you talking about a good old-fashioned metal key? Yeah. And you didn't have a key to Judge Mullins' chambers, did you say? Look, it's 8:08. They just now opening. So chill out. Get you some pants on and stuff. Do you know whether Ben Fields had a key to Judge Mullins' chambers? I don't know. Why would Judge Mullins' chambers have a good old-fashioned key when the rest of the courthouse had these electronic badges. There was only a few doors that had electronic badges. Not every room. Not every room. Not every other room had the electronic badges. My question is why? I have no idea. Okay, so if you were going to be in Judge Mullins's chambers, for example, you would have to be there because someone with a key let you in. Is that correct? Yeah. Do you know who would have had keys back between 21 and 22? No, I had no clue who had a key to it. I know that Judge Mullins had a key to it, and that was all that I knew. I know you said that you had reviewed some of the messages between yourself and Ben, some of those Facebook messages. It is true, isn't it, that you and your coworkers at the Letcher County Sheriff's Office, you guys corresponded via Facebook Messenger a lot back in 21 and into 22, correct? Yes. And specifically you and Ben. Would it be fair to say that you two corresponded with each other more than you corresponded with any other coworkers? Yeah, that's fair to say. And there was a special message thread, I guess, in yourself, Ben Fields, and Mickey Stines, correct? Yes, I believe so. Why was there a special message thread that included only yourself, Ben Fields, and Mickey Stines? I think Mickey messaged me and Ben one day simultaneously, and he just put it in one message, thanking us for helping out with something. I can't remember if it was just, I can't remember what it was. If it was staying late or something, but he thanked us for working hard for him. I think that's what started it. And we just kept talking in it. Okay. And there is a lot of sort of joking around and different memes and sort forth shared amongst the three of you all. Correct? Yeah. During that time period, did you consider Ben Fields a close friend? Yes. Did you know that in 2020 and 21 that Ben Fields was messing around with women on home incarceration? No, I did not. Did you ever suspect that he might be messing around with women on home incarceration? No, not at all. Did Ben Fields ever tell you about having sexual contact with anyone, any women who were not his wife? No, not at all. And I would have liked to have asked Eccles, was he there? Was he working in the jail when Ben and Angie were pussyfooting around in the jail when she was married to somebody else? I wonder if he knew that Ben was sleeping with Angie upstairs in the bathroom after work in the courthouse. Did he know that? That would have been a great question, don't you think, to ask him if he knew about Ben breaking the rules and Angie. In 2020 and 21, did you know who Brianna Cornett was? Yeah, I knew. I knew she was. They've just missed the whole word who. And how did you know who she was? I believe me and her went to school together, and she was frequent as and she was frequent at the Letcher County Jail, I guess. Okay, what about Jennifer Hill? Did you know the name Jennifer Hill during 2020 and 21 time period? I knew the name, but I don't really recall anything. I'm pretty sure that she had been in jail a few times, is how that I know the name, but I never did deal with the women when I worked at the jail. Why not? It was always the female guards that did that. And one of those female guards, that was Angie Fields, Ben Fields' wife, correct? Yeah. What about Sabrina Adkins? Did you know her? Did you ever meet her or know her name during 21 into 22? I guess I knew her from when that I worked at the jail. She would come to the jail a few times. She would come to the jail a few times, like she was coming for dinner or something. She would come to the jail a few times. And I remember seeing her in court, I guess, when she had court. So why did she stand out to you in your memory? Sabrina? I just knew who she was from the jail. Nothing really stood out. There's a couple more pages I would like for you to look at. And then one's in this pile. Let's see. Actually, let me back up and do some housekeeping before I get too much further. The first 4 pages on this, I'm going to mark as Exhibit 1 to Mr. Eccles' deposition. Page 5 and 6 of this group, I'm going to mark as Exhibit 2. I'm going to mark pages 7 and 8. I am sorry, 4 through 7, I'm going to mark as Exhibit 2. 8 and 9, I will mark as Exhibit 3. The only objection that I would have to that are the ones that he is not a party to the conversation back and forth, but since you asked him questions about it, I don't mind for it to be attached, of course. Ms. Baxter, thank you. Okay, the next is one that you are not part of. I'm just wanting to know if you were of some of this, and feel free to look through them. It is pages. It is marked 750 at the top, but I think it is page 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. So the Facebook pages on these, they are marked. Okay. This is all just a bunch of stuff. Then you started talking about some documents. Okay. Just so that I'm following along with everything, you asked about reference to a name Christie on a Facebook document, and I see it is marked page 712, correct? Yep, correct. Then you started talking about some documents you were going to make certain exhibit numbers. I didn't hear you ask for the Christie document to be marked as an exhibit. Is that correct? I just did. So what number is it? So I'm going to go by the numbers on the top, and the numbers on the top of that document are marked Facebook Business Records, page 711, 12, 13. 11 through 13 would be Exhibit 3. Before you move on to the next one, just for the record, it would appear that there are some exchanges on 713 that are between Fields and Angie. So I guess that would be Ben and Angie. So I would preserve an objection to any confidential marital communications But with that objection made, so the next page that I have is 750. And you are intending page 750 to be part of 4. Yes. Okay. And I'm just giving you these to Mr. Eccles because as a point of reference, but you are not on these communications. I'm just wondering if you know anything about these people and what is being discussed. And that is the nature of what I wanted to ask you about. I also had a quick question about these exhibits, if you don't mind. Sure. This page 750 is the part of what you originally produced from the AG's office. It is, but it may have not been redacted in that version. So more recently, we got all those unredacted documents from Mr. Owens. So this is part of the Owens production. Is this what this is? I believe so. And the other question is, do you have page 740? Do you have any idea who all's on this thread or who the names are? Because it looks like you are only using part of the conversation of 750. Something is cut off at the top of who the author is. Help me understand what you mean. I don't understand that. Okay, you've got author, sent, and then the body of the message. If you look at 750, there's a partial message that just says sent, and it doesn't have who the author is, or at least on the copy that I have. I didn't know if you had page 749, so I could see who all the individuals were in the chain. I know that you mentioned that Mr. Eccles wasn't, but I'd like to know who this exchange is between. I believe it is only between Brianna Ashton and Christy Fultz. Who are those people? Do you know? Brianna Ashton, I believe, is Brianna Cornett. Okay. And I believe that Christy Fultz is her mother. Okay. That is my understanding. That makes sense. I wasn't familiar with the Brianna Ashton name. Thank you. That is my understanding. There are some reference in these documents to somebody by the name Brandon Watts. He's a state cop, ain't he? I think that's the one who was so nasty to me the night all that stuff happened with Alan and Borum's Mikey Dingus. Yeah, I know who he is. Who's Brandon Watts? I believe he's a state trooper. Is the same Brandon Watts. There's also a reference to a James Norris. Well, it's Norris, not Norse. Is he another deputy with the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? At the time he was. Now he works for Whitesburg PD, I'm pretty sure. He might still be with the Sheriff's Department, but... And... Well... Okay. Is he no longer with the Sheriff's Office? No. Do you know what caused him to leave his employment with the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? I do. It was all of the stuff that happened September 19th. And he voluntarily left employment? Yeah. But he was working with the Sheriff's Office back in 2020, correct? Correct. And there is some reference to some numbers in her 1038 and 111. Would the number 111 be associated with Deputy Norris's position with the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? It would. What does that mean? What does that number mean? That his badge, that is his badge number, or was his badge number. 1038, do you have any idea whether that is a number that is associated with Brandon Watts, I guess, with his position with the KSP? Yeah, I believe it was his badge number, but I don't know for sure on this. That is fair. Let's take a short break. All right. We are back on the record, and you're still under oath, Mr. Eccles. You mentioned the officer or deputy, I guess, Norris, quit on September 19th. It wasn't September 19th, but it was shortly after. I guess how that I understood your testimony, that was in some way related to the shooting at the courthouse. Have you spoken to Deputy Norris about him leaving, or do you know of any specificity why he left the sheriff's office? We spoke about it, but I guess he didn't really 100% of reason why. I mean, look, I don't understand how this document could even be usable in a court of law. I don't. I hope that whoever, we're going to look and see the name. I'm pretty sure it's probably the same people. I will never use these people. I would never use them. I would never suggest or encourage anybody ever use this company. But Ned Pillersdorf sure will. We spoke about it. Oh, I already read that. It was, let's see. I guess it was the look of the sheriff's office. I guess felt ashamed. I guess maybe because of what happened. What did he tell you specifically? He just told me that he was looking for another job with another agency, and he had been looking for a little bit. And then he was doing right along with other agencies and the shooting, and he said that he was going to try and get on with another agency. Well, Whitesburg pulled him right on down. Daniel Dotson's chief, whatever his name is, hired him right on. Didn't he? I'm pretty sure that's where he's at. The Whitesburg, oh, who's he working with now? The Whitesburg Police Department. I just didn't read far enough. Okay, I guess. Did you know that Brianna Cornett, at that time, Deputy Norris, that they knew each other? I knew that they knew each other just from, I guess, from Deputy Norris had arrested her before. What about Brandon Watts? Do you know back in 2020 whether or not he knew Brianna Cornett? I don't know. Are Brandon Watts and James Norris friends, to your knowledge? To my knowledge. To your knowledge, they are friends? Yes. Do you know why Deputy Norris or Mr. Watts, what cause they would have had to have seen Brianna Cornett getting out of the shower? What? I have no clue. And Brandon Watts had the nerve to look at me the night that we couldn't find Alan. And he said, "You've only got two things going for you. You got all your teeth, and you ain't got sores all over your face."
Close. You just obliterated. You just killed Iran.
I don't have any respect for Brandon Watts whatsoever. And this is why. This is why I have a problem with these people. It's not, I really put law enforcement up on a pedestal. The good ones. But every time that I think one of them's good, every time that I say, "Oh man, they're a good dude. They're so nice. They're a good dude." Well, it was just what I knew of them. You put, like, our show has started. The show has really gotten pretty popular and stuff, and we are basically crowdsourcing this investigation. So as we read these and as we say things out loud and I ask questions, and shoot, sometimes I'll just make statements, but I get things wrong. If I get it wrong, honey, everybody and their brother lets me know if I get it wrong. And if I don't know something and I need a question answered, honey, I got 20 people holler at me with the answer, right? If I don't know who somebody is, or if I need to know something about somebody, trust me, y'all, trust me. I get plenty of sources. All I need to do is put out one question, and I get the answer. Let's see. Just a better than you and me or any other time. Yeah, a lot of these people act like they're just better than everybody else. So that is the so I reached out to somebody and I said, "Do you know Christy Williams? I think that's who this is, ain't it?" And they said, "Yeah." One of them, I'm better than you are. I'm better than you. And we just leave it at that. That's how a lot of people act. They wouldn't dare be caught dead in one of them jail cells. Nope. Shocking. So, Brandon Watts and Deputy James Norris, why were they seeing Brianna Cornett getting out of the shower? I have no clue. Did you have any knowledge of? Objectiform. Do you have any? Do you have any knowledge of Deputy Norris sending any kind of communication to Brianna Cornett over Facebook? Not that I know of. Michael Burton. Does that name ring a bell for you? Yeah. Who is Michael Burton? I'm not sure if he still is. I haven't talked to him in quite a bit, but he was a state trooper. And I'm assuming that he still is. Okay. He was a state trooper back in 2020? Yeah. Okay. And do you know Christy Fultz? I know the name. If I seen her, I might know her, but I don't know. Back in 2020 and back in 21, did you know that Ben Fields would meet people who were on home incarceration after dark at the courthouse? I didn't know anything about that. And I don't necessarily mean for an afferent reason. Do you all see that word? Is that a word? I've never seen that word. Did I freeze? I have never heard of this word. Afference. AFFAIRANCE. Afference. Did you know that he sometimes met persons on home incarceration after dark at the courthouse? I never recall him being there after hours. Back in 2020 and 21, did you know that there were no cameras in Judge Mullins's chambers? I did not. Okay. You never discussed that with Ben or anyone else in the courthouse? No. Do you know of anybody named Chad Brown? The name rings a bell, but I think that I know who he is, but I'm not sure though. Okay. I was wondering if there was someone named Chad Brown who you would have ever had any conversations with about Judge Mullins. Do you recall that? Nope. I know a Chad that works on cameras. I don't know his last name, but I don't ever recall having a conversation with him about Kevin. Now, Chad Brown, ain't that the dealer? Are you all catching this? Because nobody is saying anything about these revelations in the chat. Like, I'm over here like, what? I'm trying not to freak out. I am trying not to freak out over here because this is so big. Chad Brown? What? Unless this is a different Chad Brown. But why would they be bringing it up in the deposition? No, I know Chad works on cameras, but I don't know his last name. But I don't ever recall having a conversation with him about Kevin. What do you mean by Chad that works on the camera? Who is that person? That ALC. Okay. He works for ALC. I don't really know much about him. I just know if we need something that he is the one that gets called. Okay. Do you recall going with Ben Fields out to see Sabrina Adkins in June of 21? I do recall that. Explain to me what you recall and why you would have been on that trip with Mr. Fields. He called me and asked me to ride with him. He wanted, I guess, the person she went to someone's house and the person didn't want her there. And she was on home incarceration there. Ah, this is the Stacy, whatever his last name was. So now the way that this all went down, I don't think is how it's supposed to go down. How many times have you all tried to get somebody out of your house? And don't you have to go through an eviction process? You have to go to the court. You have to tell them, that you need an eviction, all that stuff. No, not with this bunch. Not with this bunch. She's somewhere staying. And I mean, why is she even there in the first place if she wasn't allowed to be there, right? Like, this whole thing just stinks to high heaven to me. But the boy goes to rehab, and while he's gone to rehab, he allegedly tells Ben and them to go get her out of his house. Well, buddy, that's your fault. You're the one, you can't have her live there with you. And now this is just me. But a man can't have a woman live with him. She sets up that residency there then. And then because he violated his drug court and they take him to jail, send him off to rehab, and then he tells Ben, hey, I don't want that girl at my house while I'm gone. Well, tough Titty said to Kitty, but the milk's too sweet. I don't think that's how that's supposed to go down. I don't think Ben is supposed to go grab Jason Eccles. So you got both these great big men. Why didn't he get a woman? Why didn't he take a female with him? You're going out to get a woman, but no, you go get Jason Eccles' big ass. So what? Y'all can intimidate her? Oh, that's what you needed Eccles for. Intimidation. You need muscle from Eccles. Because neither one of you, I don't think, were allowed to be arresting anybody unless they were at the courthouse. Now, unless Eccles has some arresting power, that's more than just court security. He wasn't supposed to be arresting nobody neither. So you got both these fools out here, taking girls by their against their will, and they don't even know. Then nobody realizes what they're doing because they're allowed. They've got the backing of the sheriff, the chief, the judge, the prosecutor, you name it. They can do whatever the hell they want to do. And screw these girls. Go try and tell. Oh, I'd love it. Just go try and tell anybody. Go try and tell somebody. See how well that works out for you. Yeah, we see about how well it worked out for everybody, don't we? Yeah. I guess she didn't have a ride. Let's see. Now, look, that's all commas. There ain't a period in there nowhere until you get all the way down there. Pitiful. He called me and asked me to ride with him. Oh, I lied. There's a period. I wanted, I guess, comma, the person, comma. She went to someone's house, comma, and the person didn't want her there, comma, and she was on home incarceration there, comma. So I went with him, comma, and I guess, comma, just to tell her that she had to go somewhere else, period. Oh, there's a period. I guess she didn't have a ride, comma, and I guess he called her and she didn't have a ride, comma, so we went to pick her up to take her to a new place or to, I can't remember if we took her somewhere else or if we brought her to the jail and somebody picked her up. No, let me tell you. So that was the man that Ben got her to go stay with, Sabrina. And it's in is it in Sabrina's deposition? I think it's Sabrina's deposition. We'll read her deposition again. I forget the guy's name. But they go get Sabrina. They take her out there to this guy's house. And it's kind of like another pimping thing. It's kind of another pimping situation. Same way as Uncle Bill. You go give Uncle Bill some of that. And he's going to help you with your charges. And, you know. It's something. It's just a shame, man. It's all just a shame. Okay. Well, okay, so dude goes to jail or goes to rehab or whatever. Well, that's not Ben and Jason Eccles' place to go act as eviction, right? Tough. But they weren't supposed to be, these people were all in drug court too. They were not supposed to be shacking up together. They were not supposed to be sleeping together, but most of them did because they weren't really allowed to hang out with anybody except themselves. But yet they weren't supposed to hang out together, but yet they're in drug court together. And so they see each other all the time. But don't you hang out together outside of drug court. I mean, they set them up for failure from the very beginning, all the way through it. if they do get through it, they either had some help with those who were over it. I bet Sabrina would have graduated drug court with no problem if it had all went Ben's way. How many girls do you think did graduate drug court with no problem? Well, we've had several that have graduated, but I want to see the data. I want to see Letcher County's data. I want to see numbers for admissions, people who are admitted in drug court. I want to see numbers for sanctions. I want to see numbers for dirty urines. I want to see numbers for job, successful job training, certifications. They really need to start keeping data on jobs, like how many months or days of successful employment people have been able to land. That kind of data is really needed if we're going to be handing out hundreds of millions of dollars to this stuff. If you don't have the data to justify it, to say this is working, then we need to kind of redo some things. Don't make it so easy to line these people's pockets when, the reward is not worth the risk. Look there. So their intention was to make a female leave a residence and take that female to another person's house to do X, and they used their court badges as force to do this. That's right. That girl R.W. Bus. But we are the only ones that see this as doing something wrong. I don't think Jimmy Kraft, the judge over drug court, I don't think he sees one thing wrong with any of this. Ben's sister is over drug court and has been for 10 years. So when people were trying to tell Judge Jimmy Kraft and Robbie Kinser, I just saw him last week at the courthouse coming out of the smoke room. He's got this big stroll, like he struts. And he'll strut from one side of the hallway to the other with these long gait, and he's strutting. It's like, buddy, go on with your bad self, Robbie Kinser. All right. Why do you think that Ben wanted you to ride along with him for that? I'm assuming because she was a female, and that was the only reason that I could think of. Oh, okay, because she was a female, then that's even better. 2 men. 2 great big old burly men.
Really?
Oh, one's already making her have smecks with him, so,
He's not a zombie.
bring a second one.
I thought he was a zombie.
But, they believe every word that comes out of these people's mouths. Jason sounds like he's at least giving us some juice we didn't have before. So it's very important that Bethany Baxter ask the appropriate questions, right? Very important to have the appropriate questions ready. Why would it matter that she was a female? I guess so nothing could be said. I'm not really sure. Oh, really? Like Ben ain't always with females alone? Like this time. He never asked you to do that before, did he, Jason? Oh, but now all of a sudden he needs you to come as big brother. All of a sudden? Oh, okay. I'm not really sure. Do you recall what you and Mr. Fields discussed as you were riding out to see Sabrina? The only thing I can recall is that he was telling me that was up on top of a big hill, and we had to walk up the big hill, and that was about it. So remember, these are the mountains. So what I'm assuming when I read that is that it was a driveway that they couldn't make it up. So they've had to park at the bottom and they've had to walk up to the house. You know, whenever it's usually a driveway like that, that's usually a pretty good hike. That's usually a pretty good hike. Why was it so important to get Sabrina out of this man's house? Why was it so important to get Sabrina out of Stacy's house? Anybody out there know? Oh, and here, you don't have to put it in my chat. My little birdies, bring it to mommy. All right, bring it to mommy. Bring the tea. Come on. Tell me why. Tell me why. Okay, and then big tub of lards was actually going to get out of a car and track up a mountain, up a driveway that they can't get up in their car. Yeah, right. Yes, right. They don't do that here. They don't do that here, y'all. They're too lazy. They ain't doing that. Not without an ulterior motive or a reason. Okay, and what do you recall about the exchange once that you all got to the house between yourself, Mr. Fields, and Miss Adkins? Well, we got there and Ben knocked on the door and she answered. And she had a box full of stuff. She had an armful of stuff. I can't remember if it was in a box. He said that she couldn't stay there and we left. We walked down the hill to the vehicle. Have you ever been on a similar ride along with Mr. Fields to deal with someone on home incarceration on some other occasion, or was this just a unique situation? Like, no way would he be going to anybody else's house. Like, that should have been done in court. If she couldn't stay there, then that should have been something that was done in front of Jimmy Kraft. Because that part should have already been, established. Residence, that stuff for house arrest, it has to be approved. Not in Letcher County, it don't. Anywhere else, you're going to pay out the nose for house arrest and it's all going to be on the up and up. Not here. Not here. Any other county, they're going to pay, except for maybe like Pike County. But I'd still like to know the numbers. No way should one person down there at the jail, Lena Hensley, no way should she be one of the supervisors at the jail, have this side job as an independent contractor over the house arrest, who the more people who are put on the house arrest, the more money she makes. So she gets a direct incentive the more people that she gets on house arrest. Same way Ben did. Baby. Okay, we'll leave. I'll get off of here right now. All right. Let me finish this up here. I can remember once or twice. I can't remember if it was before or after that. What were those other situations? There was a male staying in kind of like a shed of his father's, and his father said that he didn't want him in there anymore, and he wanted to off on his bond, and which would have revoked his house arrest. He said that he wasn't doing very well, so me and Ben went there. It was dark. I can't recall the time. Okay. Another one that we went on, and I wonder what happened there. He didn't let him. Bethany Baxter did not ask him to finish that. So did they remove this man and take him to jail? They probably did if his daddy wanted off of his bond. But it would have been nice if he said that. So him and Ben go out to this guy's house where he's living, and neither one of them have arrest powers. Unless Eccles has powers that I'm not aware of. But from what I understand, as a court security officer, they did not have arresting powers except when they're in the courtroom. When they're in the courthouse, they can arrest somebody. But they don't have the same power as a sheriff's deputy, as a road deputy. Why is this just ignored? This just keeps being ignored. Eccles is still a court security up there. Eccles is still working in the courtroom. He was Judge Kraft's bailiff last week when I went to go get divorced. And he wouldn't even look at none of us, wouldn't even look at Jenny. He just put his head down. I wonder what they think about being sued in all this big civil suit from the judge's wife. Ain't so funny now, is it? All them jokes and going on ain't so funny now, is it? When the shoe's on the other foot, all them jokes ain't so funny now, are they? You think he's laughing now? You think they're giggling, thinking all this funny stuff is real funny, ain't it? Sure is, bud. It was dark and I can't recall the time, he said. All right, another one we went on. I don't remember who it was or if it was even male or female. We ended up not being able to find them. I just rode with him on that one. Okay. Do you recall whether Sabrina Atkins was upset that night? Why are they out at night? Nighttime is not a house arrest job. Nighttime is not a court security job. And if you don't have any kind of arrest powers, I don't think you really have the authority or the power to do all this stuff. Neither one of you did. I mean, if you wanted it to be legal, then you should have took Mickey Stines with you or a deputy. Somebody that had some kind of an arrest power. But neither of these two had it. How come neither one of them are charged with maybe impersonating a police officer like they did the house arrest guy? The guy who owns the house arrest company, who's over Letcher County, Pike County, Edison Banks arrested him, charged him with impersonating a police officer because he was a investigator and was investigating on behalf of a defense attorney. They threw his ass in jail. Impersonating a police officer, that's a felony. What do you think happened? Well, now they've let him run his house arrest business out of Letcher County, and then he hired Lena Hensley to take Ben's place. No conflict of interest there. And now she gets to make $35,000 a year extra on top of her big salary at the jail. 2 minutes, I told you. 9 o'clock.
Can't Sambo.
Well, we're leaving. Ash. All right. Let's see. We are on page 45. Let me see how far. All right, guys. We'll have to close this one down. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Let me go back to 45. All right. All right. We will leave that on page 45. Thank you, Jesus, for another day, being able to come together in your name, Lord. We are so thankful every day that we wake up, just our feet hit the floor, that our eyes open. I know I am. I'm so grateful every day. None of us are promised tomorrow. I know I sure ain't. I love you, Jesus. I pray that you forgive me for my sins. I pray that you just keep your light at my feet. Don't let me falter. Don't let me fall off that path. Keep me right on that straight and narrow. It sure ain't easy. But, you know, it's not as hard as what we think it is either. Or what we think it will be. By your grace and your mercy, Lord, I love you. And I'm so, so thankful. I lift your name up in praise, honor, and glory. I love you, Jesus. I cannot live without you. I can't do anything without you. I pray that you keep your healing hand over top of my mommy. Keep it over me and my kids and everybody under the sound of my voice, Lord. Whatever need they have in their life, whether it be physical, whether it be emotional, financial, it don't matter. The spiritual is the most important, and we pray for that above all else. Thank you, Jesus. I plead your precious blood down over top of us all, Lord, and all you have to do is speak the word only. Speak the word only, and we shall be healed. Hallelujah. I thank you, Jesus. Until we meet again tomorrow, Lord, we give you all praise, honor, and glory in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, Mommy. I'll see you later.
Bye.
I love you.
Love you.
All right. And we will peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.
Can't hide from hillbilly crime. You can't hide from hillbilly crime. You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't match the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the